Husband cheated on me 2 weeks after the birth of our son. My STBXH, 30M, and I, 30F, have been married for 8 years. We have 2 sons together, oldest is 2 years and youngest is 5 months old. I left him immediately in April 2022 after finding out that he'd been cheating on me with a younger, much skinnier woman 2 weeks after the birth of my son, which was around March 2021. My husband started picking up more and more overnights at work, even after promising while I was pregnant with my older son that he would ask his boss to lessen the overnight jobs since we're having a baby soon. He used to FaceTime me while he was on his overnight trips, but after the birth of our older son, that stopped completely. Also, when we'd visit my family, who lives 3 hours away from us, my husband would leave their house early in the morning and wouldn't come back until late in the night. It bothered my parents and me, but I let it go. I later found out that AP lives less than 10 minutes from my parents. After my son's birth, he would start petty arguments with me and constantly throw the divorce card around, and would say that our marriage would be so much better if I wasn't depressed/anxious all the time. I went through severe PPD and PPA after the birth of my son due to infertility and miscarriages prior. I would cry and beg him not to file for divorce and tell him that I would try to fix myself so we could have a happier marriage. He was never like this at all before having a baby, so I chalked it up to the stress and lack of sleep after a new baby. Even though he never got up during the night nor really helped much with the baby. Fast forward to April 2022, I received a Facebook Messenger call from AP's husband letting me know that my husband and AP have been seeing each other for over a year, but he recently found out. OBS found my husband's Facebook which showed he was still married to me. That's how he was able to find me. I asked my husband if this was true and he proceeded to just stare at me blankly, then said, "The marriage is over, sell the house." I wailed and cried the entire night. The next day I called my dad and asked him to come pick me and my then 1-year-old son. I've been living with my parents ever since. My parents absolutely hate his guts and is banned from entering their home. I don't blame them. Apparently my STBXH and AP were going to leave each other's spouses and get married. I also found out that AP is also illegal, so I'm sure she's only with my husband to get her green card. I found out shortly after leaving my husband that I was pregnant. He wanted me to abort the baby because he can't afford child support for 2 kids. Oh well. I went though with the pregnancy and I now have an amazing 5-month-old. My husband was not in the delivery room and did not meet him until last week. He also did not ask me about how the pregnancy was going, how our sons were doing, etc. He would visit our older son once every 6 weeks. Back in November I filed for divorce. I wanted sole custody of the kids since neither of them were ever left in his care for more than an hour, and I wanted 65% of the house. We live in an equitable distribution law state. I purchased the house with all of my savings and I'm still paying the monthly mortgage even though I haven't been living at the house for more than a year. My STBXH said if he's forced to pay the mortgage, he will let it go to foreclosure. Not sure if this is relevant, but he is on the deed of the house, not the mortgage. 1 week after my husband was served the divorce papers, I received an email from my lawyer's office that he's contesting the divorce. Great. He's seeking half the house and 50% custody of the kids. He feels that paying $1,255 a month for 2 kids is too much money and he has a life to live too. Meanwhile he spends thousands of dollars a month on AP. Oh, and here's the kicker, he's not sure if the second baby is his, so he's seeking a paternity test. What a joke. We have a court date coming up in a few weeks and to be honest, I'm so nervous. I do not want my husband getting split custody of the kids. I can't believe this is my life now. I feel hopeless. Please tell me it gets better. Update. Last night my STBXH called me and I foolishly answered thinking it was regarding our sons. He starts making small talk then eventually shifts to another topic about how our sons need both parents in their lives, how he loves them so much, wants us to be together as a family, you get the picture. So then I told him no, you don't love the kids. You threatened to quit your job to avoid paying child support which is for the kids. You didn't meet our 5-month-old son until last month. You only see our 2-year-old once every 6 weeks for 1 hour. And after our first son was born, you were barely home because of work. You spent so much time with the AP that I was taking care of our older son 100% of the time, alone, while also working full-time. Plus, the OBS reached out to me a couple months ago to inform me that STBXH and AP were very much still together. He went quiet after I said this, and then he mentioned that they're not together anymore. So this is why he reached out. He's lonely. Mind you, my STBXH barely has any family and no friends. Since the boys and I left, he has no one. So our sons and I are his backup. We're worth more than that. I'm also pretty sure he wants us to be together only because I was financially supporting all of us. Now that STBXH is paying his own bills, it's too much for him. He just wants to use me. I told him that if he had really wanted us to be a family, he should have always put us first. He should have never cheated. But it's too late for that now. I can tell he wanted to cry from the way his voice kept cracking. I was beyond the point of caring. I was very matter-of-fact, and I ended the conversation by saying see you in court on Thursday. Story 2. My wife of 22 years cheated on me with my brother 17 years ago. Not even sure where to start this story. My wife and I dated all of high school and went to college together. We have literally been each other's everything since we were 14. We were each other's firsts. We married at 20 and had a kid at 23. We scratched our way up to middle class from literally nothing. It would be an understatement to say that our lives are so intertwined that separating would be catastrophic for both of us. I love this woman with every fiber of my being, which makes this betrayal so much more difficult. Fast forward a few years to 2006, when our daughter is 2 years old. My brother, 5 years older than me, is recently divorced from his wife. He was trying to get back on his feet, so I wanted to help in any way I could. I offered him our spare room for as long as he needed it. We cooked for him, cleaned up behind him, and helped him get his life together. After a few months, I noticed that he and my wife were buddying up a lot more than normal. I started noticing things that didn't quite sit right. I am yadding a lot of details, but eventually they started texting all the time and talking on the phone when he wasn't at our house. I knew there was something going on, but every time I brought it up, I was made to feel like a jealous idiot. After a while, there was little to no attempt to hide it. I went into a dark spiral of depression. The only thing that kept me going was my daughter. This went on for several months. One day I finally checked my wife's phone and saw that they had been sexting. My world absolutely fell apart. Trying to be the bigger person, I called them both together for a sit-down. They both agreed that nothing had ever been physical. They looked into my eyes and swore to me that the sexting was the extent of the affair. I swallowed my pride and tried to forgive in an effort to keep my family together. I would not hesitate to say that this incident broke my brain. I have suffered from severe depression and anxiety as a direct result of this betrayal. Fast forward 17 years to present day. My wife and I have had another child. Our lives are finally becoming comfortable. Life is good. On some idle Wednesday, my wife and I were talking and I caught her in a small lie. After needling her for hours, she finally admitted to kissing, snuggling, basically dry humping, over-the-clothes fondling, sending nudes, and phone sex. My life seemed to fall apart worse than it did 15 years ago. I called my entire life into question, including the fatherhood of my second daughter. She has his blue eyes. I spoke with my brother and let him know that I had my wife's side of the story, but now I needed his. Based on how they matched up would decide on how drastically I would take this. I used everything in my power to interrogate him for hours. For the most part, their stories lined up. There was a lot of I don't remember from both of them though. I highly doubt that is something easily forgotten. I let him know that we were done and to never contact anyone in my family again. During the interrogation, I caught them in a lie about when the affair ended. They had promised me that the affair had ended back when I caught them the first time 17 years ago. However, through some Sherlock-level observations, I proved that their affair kept going after I caught them. This devastated me. I was so fragile, betrayed, and broken I considered just ending it so many times, and she knew this. They both did. It kills me to know that I was so close to ending myself and she couldn't keep herself from him. Fast forward a month. After catching my wife in more lies, her entire story unraveled and she admitted to having sex with him while she was at a work conference. She claims that this only happened once and that it was very awkward because he couldn't maintain an erection. She said she faked an orgasm he finished and then he immediately left. According to her, they never had any more physical contact and my brother married another woman and has been with her ever since. I may be a fool, but I am confident that the affair ended about 6 months after I caught them the first time. I don't know if I should believe that she has been faithful ever since. So anyways, here I sit. I have been married to this woman that I adore for 22 years. Our entire lives are woven together, so much so that I question if either of us can function without the other. I feel betrayed all over again. My wife is telling me that she lied to me to save our marriage and that I can't hold her responsible for dumb things she did 17 years ago. I am really trying to make peace with this, but I don't have a clue where to go from here. Is it worth ruining my life and decimating my family to teach my wife a lesson about something she did 17 years ago? Am I just being an idiot for believing her? I honestly don't know, but I feel that dark abyss of depression slowly creeping back to the front of my mind. It frankly scares the hell out of me and I don't know where to go from here. I am trying to maintain some semblance of normality for MT's youngest daughter. She has 4 years of high school left, so my plan right now is to move into our basement for the next 4 years. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. I don't feel like a man. I have lost all confidence in myself. I just feel like some useless weakling that can't stand up for himself and has been made a fool of time and time again. Everything went sideways this morning. I caught her in another lie and finally she admitted that they had sex multiple times in Fleabag Highway motels while I was away for work, just like so many of you said. So slight change in plans. I have a lawyer. My daughters both know. Her family knows. She is moving to the basement until alternative arrangements can be made. I will be keeping the house. Update: I am doing a little better. My brother still refuses to respond to me. I am pretty sure that he blocked my number. So, I decided to tell his wife, his ex-wife, his daughter, my niece, as many of his friends as I knew, and his employer. If I can't have my pound of flesh, I will spread chaos in his world. Despite not having anyone to turn to, I feel like I am in a better place. Story 3. The other woman reached out to me. I am blindsided and devastated. We had been together for 5 years. We share a home and pets together. Last night an unknown number texted me and said she had slept with him early last month and just realized he had lied to her about being single. She was honestly wonderful and very open with me, and provided receipts for everything. He had betrayed her too. I confronted him and he tried to gaslight me. She was able to provide receipts for everything and he finally broke down and admitted it. We stayed up late arguing. He said that it was a ONS he regretted. I went to bed. The girl texted me again early this morning. She told me she had been fixated on the fact that I told her I felt something was up because I had found some of my personal items in our bedroom/bathroom rearranged after leaving to visit my family for a few nights. She said that she never came to our house. I confronted him again about how many others it had been with, and it turns out that he had cheated 3 times. 3 different girls. I'm absolutely blindsided. He is such a good liar. If the girl didn't have receipts, I'm not sure I would have believed it. We are a bit non-traditional in that we had discussions about having an open relationship. Neither of us are particularly bothered by the act of sex in and of itself. Every time we discussed the open relationship though, we decided that we needed to strengthen our bond a bit more first. I am most devastated by the lies and the gaslighting. These were not emotional relationships, but one-night stands that he blocked the girls immediately after each time. I feel so lost. We were building a future together.